Hey, what's going on YouTube? Is Bebop here. Today's video is going to be about something I've seen a lot of here when I'm trying to get a random group together for a hive. Let's scroll down here and look at, let's say, the hoplite weapons, okay? Now, this would be perfectly fine for the second healer. You have one healer that's going to have a VG, the other healer is going to have a flail to extend all the debuffs. Now, refreshing move, crowd of bludgeon, and a third perk. That's perfectly fine. Now, if we scroll down to one weapon here, I'll show you why these weapons are not fine for hive events or PVE events. Let's look at the ice gauntlet here. It comes with disdain infliction, which is a great perk, and keenly jagged. What's wrong here? The keenly jagged. In PVE, keenly jagged is only going to go to one person in the group. Usually the person doing most damage is going to get rewarded that keenly jagged. You want your tank and your second swordman in the group number 2, which is going to be your other butcher player leadership and with a bleeding spear offhand. You want those two people having the keenly jagged that's in a hive. If you're in a, let's say, an M3 or any dungeons, only one person's getting keenly jagged. You want the tank to have it because you want them to be able to hold aggro better. Okay, the reason why you would want the group 2 swordsman to have keenly jagged is because keenly jagged comes on the butcher and it's extending all the bleeds and burns and all that of the enemy, and you want them to have what their weapon is made for. If you go into a hive and you want to do more damage, keenly jagged you can look at as a dead perk. It's not doing anything for you. So let's say I had made this, and let's say it's disdain infliction, keenly jagged, and refreshing move, or disdain infliction, keenly jagged, and the healing ice cream cone that you go into. Well, that's not going to do anything for you in the hive. Okay, now if you had on there the unended thaw, which is going to do more storm damage, then the disdain infliction and the unending thaw would help. They would work together, but your keenly jagged is still a dead perk, so you're taking in essentially a purple rarity weapon, a 2-perker.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Now let's look at the void gauntlet right here. Same thing, keenly jagged. AGS, when they came up with these weapons, were thinking PvP, not PvE. Okay, this is what this whole set is for. People to go in there, because now they transitioned to New World being a PvP only game, and that's why they made all these weapons for PvP. If you go down to Cutlass Keys and you go to the kiddie pool, what are all those weapons? PvP. That's what they are transitioning to. They are tired of PvE, and they are tired of all the speed runners, score runners, and all that jazz. So now that they're going to PvP, and obviously the fresh start servers that are PvP, that's what these weapons are made for. If you look here at the hoplite sword, refresher move, trenchant rend, it comes with a random third perk. That's just fine for tanking. The shields are just fine for shielding. The hoplite rapier is pure. It's just not that good because keenly jagged. If you got refresher move on there or whatever, it's useful, but you got the artifact rapier, it's just simply better. Round shield can be used. The hatchet, I've seen this a lot. People signing up with the hatchet, the hoplite hatchet. Disdain infliction, keenly jagged. Now they'll put keen berserk on the weapon. Okay, that's wonderful. In PvP, this would be fine. In the hive, you essentially have a 1-perk weapon, which is keen berserk. Disdain infliction is not going to do anything for you. Keenly jagged is not going to do anything for you, and you're going to be missing a lot of damage. And you're going to be thinking you're doing good damage, and you're not. Tower shield, just fine. You can run that. Blunderbuss, once again, keenly jagged. I'm just going to keep going down here. It's going to get repetitive. All these weapons have keenly jagged. Once again, these are PvP weapons, not PvE. The only ones that you could really use would be, let's say, like the life staff, which is just fine. You got the flail, you got shields, and whatever weapon does not have keenly jagged, okay? All right, another thing here is I will look at these weapons right here, the artisans, long swords and whatnot. If you want to make these that are easy 700 weapons to just go ahead and make, it's going to take prismatic ingots, 10 of those, prismatic planks 2, and then 1 prismatic leather. Now, the sword is just fine, does not have keenly jagged on there, but if you're tanking or an offhand swordsman, you need to be running Dynasty this week, which is mutated. Dynasty will give you the Butcher, which is the best sword for tanking and being the swordsman of the second group. If we look at the rapier here, Leech and Flurry, Enchanted. One thing I wanted to go over really quickly is Enchanted. Enchanted does not work on abilities. So this would be absolutely horrible for a rapier, okay? Maybe for a sword, you know, it could be okay because you're doing a lot of light attacks, but for any weapon that does a lot of abilities, garbage. If you are the healer running the flail in the second group and you have a round shield, you can craft this artisan's one, which is really good. Keen, vicious, shield aggression, enchanted. Okay, that's going to give you extra damage with the enchanted going to all the light attacks that you're going to be doing. Keen and vicious, or keen for the extra critical chance, and vicious obviously for the critical damage, especially on the down phase of the first boss, the back of the second boss, and then random hits on the third boss, because the third boss does not have back. First boss does not have back until he gets knocked. If you're a tank and you're running the Butcher, Fortified Shield Rush is really good to have on a shield. It increases your armor 35% for 6 seconds. It can stack up to 3 times. So if you get that cooldown quick enough, I mean, it's just such a benefit for you. This is a great tower shield for you to run, easy to craft. Shield defense, sturdy, and enchanted. Okay, enchanted is going to go toward your sword. If you're running the Butcher, you know it doesn't have enchanted or vicious or anything like that on there, so that's going to help you out tremendously. All right, let's look at the Sandworm gear. Now this is more PVE focused. Anytime you run the Sandworm the first time per week, you'll get 500 Sandworm materia, and then the following times throughout that week, I think it's like 50 Sandworm materia, something like that, because you delete the heart rune, which is a Sandworm, and it'll give you some materia. But these are more PvE focused. Enfeebling Maelstrom Thwarting Strikes is really good. You could put you know, Keen on there, whatnot, but that's really good for weakening a lot of targets. Duneborn Tusk, if you don't have Serenity and you're currently grinding the PvP track, this is a really good sword. Now if you're looking at tanking, this is a really great sword. Trenchant Strikes, Refresh and Move, random third perk. Keen came on mine, which I think is perfect for a tank. And so, you know, if you had attunement or whatnot, of course that'd be better, but you know, Keen, Refresh and Move, Trenchant Strike is really good for a tank. If you want to use this as DPS, it's really good to use as DPS also. You can get your Skyward Nullification up, which is 15% rend, as long as you're in an offensive stance. You have a Kite Shield, it's not really good. Don't worry about crafting and wasting money on that. You have a sword, Refreshing Move, enchanted, but you can make that same sword, I believe, over there at the hoplite station, so I wouldn't waste Sandworm material on that. Keen Tondo, keenly empowered. You know, this could be okay. I mean, just use Artifact Rapier. I wouldn't waste my time on that. Keenly jagged, shield aggression. Waste of time on the round shield. This is a really excellent spear for PvE. It's really best. Enfeebling Skewer, vicious, random third perk. So you can get that random third perk, and if it's something terrible, you can change it to whatever you want. And make sure when you come craft these that you see the gear score 725. If you come over here and it's 715 and you craft, it's going to be 715. It's not going to 725. You need to go to the marketplace, buy the engineering food, take that, then you'll be at 725. Okay, it goes all based off your crafting level. But if you take the food, you'll be just fine. Because on my fresh start, I don't have any of the engineering ranked up, and I just took food, got up to 725, just fine. This is the best hatchet, in my opinion. I mean, this and the Freya, depends on your build, but man, with Refreshing Move, if you ever see me play with this hatchet, I do have it at 715. That's how I learned about the trick I just told you, because I crafted it without paying attention, just thinking it was going to be 725, and no, it was 715, but it came with Refreshing Move, and I'm not spending all that money just to upgrade it and get one more attribute. But it came with Refreshing Move and Vicious and Berserk. So Vicious and Berserk is really excellent. Critical damage 7.3 for the Vicious, and Keen Berserk on the weapon, gain 21% additional chance and crit chance, and 21% more critical damage while Berserk is active. Now, if you put Refreshing Move on the hatchet, you run Refreshing Torrent on the clothing, you're really going to get your cooldowns quick, and that's going to help keep your uptime on Keen Berserk. The thing about running with the hatchet, and I've got a lot of questions here on my Freya video and then the Duneborn Hook video, the two different hatchet builds. Why would you go Freya over Duneborn, or why would you go Duneborn over Freya? You can switch. I like running the Duneborn because I can run Inferno with it. They both scale off strength, so I can have a Fire Staff and the hatchet, so I can do a little bit of burn damage, just quick burst damage with the Fire Staff. Also get the 15% additional damage increase on both weapons, having the Inferno with me. The Freya, though, is you're almost perma uptime on Keen Berserk. Now you have Keen Berserk on the clothing on that build, which is I believe 12%, and I think 18% more critical damage. I'd have to go back and look, but the thing about that build is the cooldowns are so fast that you're uptime on the Keen Berserk is pretty much constant. So that really helps out on boss fights. You don't have any downtime on Keen Berserk. And we go with this tall Doomborn shield. Comes with fortified shield rush, shield defense, sturdy. And I would put on there, I would make 3 of these. If I was a serious tank, I would make 3 of these. One with slash shield ward, one with strike shield ward, and then one with thrust shield ward. I would make the strike first, a slash second, or vice versa, and then make the thrust last. There are other thrust shields, so you don't need that are really best, that you don't need to waste materia, but for strike and slash, there's just not much out there that's really best. So you need, because those are the most 2 common, so you're gonna have to craft that. On the Warhammer, Sundering Shockwave, Thwarting Strikes. Ideally, you would rather have the hammer from Tempest, which is mutated right now. It's called the Willpower, and that was going to have Thwarting Strikes, Refreshing Move, and then you put Sundering Clear out. If you were going to run this, you would want Sundering, or you would want Refreshing Move, and then Sundering Clear out on the clothing. To me, this hammer is not that great. Having Sundering Clear out on the hammers is far better than having Sundering Shockwave, unless you're in PvP and you don't run the clear out. Really quickly, I wanted to show this, the Pharaoh's Tower Shield. This is really, really good for tanks. Fortified Shield Rush, Enchanted Ward, Thrust Shield Ward, Shield Defense. That's 3 type of protections right here, basically. Fortified Shield Rush, Enchanted Ward, and Thrust Shield Ward. I mean, in PvP, that's really good. There's a lot of thrust damage out there. I mean, if it was slash, that'd be even better. But Fortified Shield Rush, Enchanted Ward, and Thrust Shield Ward with Shield Defense all on one shield is absolutely insane. There's not another shield out there like that. And I wish there was, but there's not. There's a Kite Shield that does slash and Thrust Shield Ward at 15% each, but there's not another shield that I know of that has basically 3 ways to protect yourself. All right, let's look at some more weapons we have now in the workshop here. This is still engineering. We have the Sandworm Blunderbuss, Refreshing Move, Flame Attunement. I don't know what 3rd perk you'd really want on there, but maybe Disdain Infliction, you know, something like that would probably be the only way to go. And that would be really, really good for PvE and the Hive. Okay. I might actually make that one today. And then you have this bow, Enfeebling Poison Shot, Vorpal. So if you have, you know, Keen on there, Refreshing Move, whatever you bow guys like to have, this one is another good one for PvE. Vorpal would be good on certain bosses, let's say in Savage. If you can hit good headshots, you got really good aim, then that could actually be pretty good. But it doesn't have Keenly Jagged on there, and that's what you want for the weapons for PvE, okay? The Duneborn Vent is really good if you can hit headshots, but to me, it's not better than having Disdain Infliction for the musket. I ran this in Savage Divide, and if you watched my video, I hit that 39,000 musket shot in Savage Divide, and not on a boss where there's bonus damage or anything like that. I had someone say, you know, they hit 48,000 on, you know, Chartis, but Chartis is a bonus ×2 damage. It used to be a ×4, so people were hitting crazy numbers back then. I don't count that. It has to be in an M3. It has to be like on a regular enemy or whatnot. No crazy bonuses, okay? But Vicious and Vorpal was not hitting as hard as what the Disdain Infliction musket was. And it was also, it's going to be a lot harder to get those headshots and get into the right positions. And I feel like you're going to be wasting time. Because if you're running the musket, you're most likely running Evade Rapier or Bleed Rapier, and you want to be on the Rapier more than anything. All right, we are at the Arcane repository. We're going to look at the Sandworm weapons here. Keen, Empowering Fireball. Put Disdain Infliction on there. There you go. That's an excellent fire staff for PvE. If you're running the hoplite one with Keenly Jagged, that's a dead perk. So basically you're a 2-perker. So I would just try to craft this if you can, or look for a different fire staff to run. You want Keenly Jagged to go to the tanks. I'll say it over and over. Flail right here, Mini Vortex, Trenchant Wren. You can use that if you want. It doesn't seem like a flail I would use. Unending Thaw, Frost Attunement, really good Ice Gauntlet here. And you can put maybe Disdain Infliction or whatever you feel like you want on there. That feels like it'd be a really good Ice Gauntlet to use. Once again, no Keenly Jagged. That's the whole point of the video here. Seen way too many people signing up with that stuff. Blast, Refreshing Move, put Fortified Sacred Ground on there. You'll be all right. And then we have the Void Gauntlet, Plague Crits, Putrefying Scream. This is really good in dungeons where the enemies are healing themselves. If they're vampiric or if they're dropping the healing aura upon death, this would be really good for that, for healers. So if I was a main healer, I would definitely keep one of these on me. Run the Sandworm, really easy. Just go in recruitment, get a public lobby, go do that real quick, and you can craft that. You'll have to do it 2 weeks in a row. And last here would be the Sandworm jewelry. Now, I absolutely hate how AGS set these up. You can craft this at 725. It's going to come with a random third perk. But when you go back to put whatever third perk you want on there, let's say Hardy or whatever protection you want. I mean, not on the amulet, but let's say you want to put whatever protection on there. It's a random attribute that you can either pick the attribute with the random third perk, or you pick the random third perk and have a random attribute. Don't like that at all. It's such a waste of money. Purifying toast, refreshing toast on the earring with the random third perk. Really good for nature mutations, really good for ice mutations, anything where you're going to be rooted, and it could be good for PvP. Leeching, keen awareness. Now this is the ring that drives us PvEers nuts, because when we want to have this ring for Sandworm or the Hive, we want leeching, keen awareness, and hardy. Now since we select hardy and then we random roll the attribute, a lot of times it'll come out constitution or strength, you know, something. It is very rarely intelligence where we actually want it, or dex, and you can end up spending a couple matrices and oh man, you can spend some money. I've already dropped over 20k or something like that trying to get it attributed right, and it came up con twice, so done with that. But basically the point of the video, I wanted just to kind of go over some weapons that don't have keenly jagged that you really want to look for. If I took a weapon like this in there, keenly jagged is a dead perk, and then I got disdain infliction and bleeding sweep. So I mean, that's good for that, but you're basically losing out on one perk. So if you can craft another spear down the road that doesn't have that keenly jagged on there, that would be great. But that's where the hoplite weapons, you know, they kind of fail, and AGS made these all with keenly jagged, knowing that they made the keenly jagged change over a year ago, and it's going to one person in the group. They made these for PvP, and it is what it is. All right, we're in Cutlass Keys. We're not here at the kiddie pool, and let's scroll down here. All these weapons are for PvP, not PvE. I've seen people trying to sign up with these. Please don't do that. It's a good way to instantly get, you know, shut down from getting into the Hive. Can you get through it with these weapons? Yeah, sure, if you're carried, you know, no problem. But these are PvP weapons. Please do not sign up with these. Now, if you sign up with the Fire Staff, I will always let one Fire Staff player in on my group, even if they have a Void Gauntlet offhand, because I don't really have a problem with that. It's the problem when you get 5 or 6 different Fire Staff. Same thing with bows. You don't want a lot of ranged in your hives. It just slows down the DPS. It's low DPS, and you want to have most people on the melee. Basically just wanted to make this video to go over the things I see that are a problem in a lot of public hives, and keenly jagged just being on all the weapons that I get linked. It just had to make a video on it. Feel free to look for other weapon sources. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. If you want to stop by the stream today, I'm live every day on Twitch and YouTube. I multi-stream. Feel free to stop by the chat. And Nindy is having a subathon today for a great cause, which is supporting a cat shelter. So if you feel generous enough and you want to go support him, please feel free to go out there and go to Nindy's channel while he's teaching people how to run hives on Draco, and give a sub or two for that good cause. Also, if you're a PvEer and you're interested in doing M3s, feel free to hit me up. A lot of Americans have been going to Draco and creating new characters on Draco. That is going to be the new hub for M3s for the rest of the year. Nisa was that hub last year, and now it will be Draco. So feel free to go over to Draco if you want to do M3s and PvE content, Sandworm, hives, and all that. Now, if you're on the West Coast, you'll be dealing around 200 ping. If you're on Central in the US, you'll be dealing with about 150 to 180 ping. And if you're on the East Coast, it'll be less than that. And so it's not bad. You get used to it over time. And I've done speed runs, score runs, all that stuff on that ping for years now. And it is the place to be. If you need any more information on that, feel free to hit me up. All right. I'll talk to y'all later.